Everybody knows that cooking a piece of meat is like wringing a wet sponge. Heat pushes out moisture. What is less known is that the same process, to an extent, works in reverse. Meat sucks up moisture as it cools. This is one of the many reasons why I usually don't season or flavor my steak. I flavor my cutting board.
This guy is a genius, and he is very, very correct, and it made me look at steak in a complete different point of view. Not only it will release juices, but as it's cooling down after it's being cooked, it's going to reabsorb all its juices as well, sucking up all that delicious flavors. So I'm going to try to listen to his tip and season my cutting board. You've guessed it. But I'm going to do it my way, but using his method. Just having a plain old steak is lacking. It needs something else. That's why no steak is complete without potatoes. And my choice of potatoes is mashed. But for me, mashed potatoes, boring. We're gonna upgrade it to garlic mashed potatoes. So I'm gonna show you how to make the garlic mashed potatoes alongside the steak. First things first, let's just pre-boil some little gem potatoes. You can use any potato you want, as long as they're starchy and not too waxy. I went with Yukon Gold. Now, let's make the garlic cream that will smoothen out your mashed potato into the mashed potato puree. So, first things first, yes, you saw that. Whack in an entire stick of butter and let it melt. Squeeze out your garlic. If you don't have a garlic crusher, chop it extremely fine or grate it and yeet it into that butter. And in that butter, the garlic will cook. So we're essentially deep frying the garlic in the butter. See? Mark 45, smart chef. After you put in the garlic, toss in some light cream and whisk it in with the butter and garlic and incorporate it all and mix it together. If you don't do it fast enough, it's like a holiday sauce. It's gonna split. You're just gonna have half butter, half cream. And we don't want that. That's like a sauce that has been falling apart. Now, the traditional recipe calls for heavy cream, but I'm gonna cut down the calories here. And instead of going out for a run, I'd rather use light cream. And after that, leave that to a gentle simmer. Do not boil it. Drain your potatoes, peel it, take your potato masher, and beat that motherfucker down. After it's mashed a bit, gradually, don't add it all at once, gradually add the butter garlic cream. As you add it, continue mashing and keep on simultaneously doing it, and eventually you'll get a smooth mashed potato paste. Very, very smooth. And boom, there is my very simple garlic mashed potatoes. See, just put a little bit of love. You can sprinkle in some rosemary like what I did, but the rosemary is optional. I just used it to infuse more flavor into the cream. Now, the big king of the player here, the steak. What I'm using here is organic Canadian Western grade AAA organic ribeye steak. Use any steak you wish. You can use sirloin. Just don't use any steaks attached into the bones like T-bone or the tomahawk. Use boneless steak, so ribeye, sirloin, or any other steak you can fancy like flat iron. But I don't know if we have flat iron in Canada. So the trick here is to not season it. Do not season it. What happens if you put the salt beforehand? The salt will actually draw out a bunch of moisture in the beef. The same thing it does with the fish. And you're just gonna end up with dry beef, essentially. You're gonna lose a lot of that juice that you need. So what I do instead is rub each steak with a good coating of any oil. Heat up your pan as hot as it can. You need a scorching hot pan. Your pan needs to be that hot that when you drop your first piece of steak in, you should hear this sound. I'm going for medium here, so I'm going to do 4 minutes each side. So as the first side of the steak is frying, it's time to season the cutting board. First things first, rub a little oil on the board just to make sure nothing sticks on the board. And then get some rosemary, chop that up. And then put in some butter. And yes, I am putting raw, cold butter onto the board. Remember, when the steak is resting, the steak will be extremely hot and it will melt the butter. Then squeeze in some garlic, but be careful on your portions. Now it's time to turn the steak. that looks beautiful.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
You need that color. You might think, oh my god, that looks burnt. Actually, that's what you're trying to go for. Put in some pepper. I like lots and lots of pepper. And then finally add a dash more salt. Add onion powder. After the steaks have been fried 4 minutes each side, take it out and put them on your board full of seasoning and let them rest for minimum 10 minutes. If you're gonna cut it right away, it's not gonna have the time for the meat to relax and reabsorb all the juices, and you're essentially gonna end up with a dry steak, and all that hard work and that seasoning are all gonna go to waste. So after 10 minutes, we took the steak onto our plates and we poured the sauce over it, the resting juices, and now let's cut it open and see what it looks like. Oh, I am so happy with that. If you think that looks raw and uncooked, well, I don't know what the is wrong with you. It's either you don't know how to cook, or you just can't tell because you're so colorblind. That is medium, almost close to medium well. So, come at me, you food nerds.